Well, it gets you fired up. Hello, ahoy. I'm Brad Edwards. Thank you for streaming with us on CBS News Chicago this Friday afternoon as we set sail across Lake Michigan. We are minutes away from the kickoff of the official 2022 race to Mackinac. They call it the Mac. Over 200 boats will race across Lake Michigan to Mackinac Island. And that's Lake Huron. That's about 333 miles. We have all hands on deck right now for you. Team coverage. Kris Habermehl, the captain in Chopper 2. As close as possible to the boats before takeoff. A land lubber, Jamaica Ponder at the Chicago Yacht Club with one of the sailors racing this weekend and our first mate, Mary Kay Kleist, with the race forecast. But first, let's take an official look at the course. Final preps underway for the 244 boats registered for the 113th edition of this race, presented by Wintrust. The race, known as America's Offshore Challenge, begins in front of Chicago's magnificent skyline. Finishes 289 nautical miles, but as we said earlier, that's 333 statute miles north to Lake Michigan, then Lake Huron, ending at Michigan's iconic Mackinac Island. This year, 30 new entries will be joining a fleet that includes more than 2,000 racers, 11 countries, the teams which on some boats consist of 2 to 15 sailors on board. Some will compete on the state-of-the-art carbon fiber racing boats, some on family cruisers ranging from 29 to 70 feet. The cruising division starts in moments. Racing division begins at 10-minute intervals on Saturday between 11 and 2. The big question is weather. So let's head to our first mate, Mary Kay Kleist. Mary Kay, what do you have in store?
Well, we have a warm day for today, and I think as we get into the late day hours, Brad, we could see a few spotty showers of rain, dinner time to sunset. Certainly not a big deal, but as we go through this afternoon, high temperatures will be pushing into the upper 80s. What I'm watching for that shower chance, this very weak disturbance in Iowa may start to slide in our direction. We can already see some high clouds well ahead of that as it moves closer to Lake Michigan. But the nearshore marine forecast for the rest of today calls for a southeasterly wind component at 10 to 15 knots and waves a foot or less. So kind of ideal conditions for us. We see those wind speeds right now out of the southeast between 11 and 15. And then as you get into the middle of the lake, not much higher. And it looks like it's a pretty calm afternoon for us for the events today. And when we check current wave heights as well, all the way around the rim of the lake here into northwest Indiana and the Chicago shorelines, even out into the center of the lake, waves are a foot or less. So it is super quiet into today, and water temperatures are almost as warm as they get for us this time of year. Lower 70s, that's the story for us, even out in the center of the southern parts of Lake Michigan. So what I expect with those shower chances later on as far as over the water, I think at dinner time they're more so moving into the western suburbs. And then it's more so around dark. Sun goes down at 8:20 and lasting till about 10 o'clock tonight. These are just scattered rain showers. The main event for storms, that will come our way overnight, and some of that could linger into tomorrow morning for some of the events. In the meantime, our wind tracker overall is pretty calm here right for the next 24 hours, staying at or about 10 miles per hour or less. So I guess that's good news. But let's time out those storm chances as we roll through the overnight, because between midnight and 3 a.m., we're really going to ramp up that thunderstorm activity. We could see some gusty winds as well. Now, this particular model really wants to hold the rain around into Saturday morning. And I know that a lot of the mariners want to get the day started early as they set up for the course tomorrow. Here is 10 a.m. It looks like this model is really holding a lot of the activity along and south of I-80, but even near the rim of the lake here, we do have scattered showers. But by noontime, we'll start to see all that activity drag farther and farther to the south, and then the rest of the day is going to be just sunny and extremely hot. So for the race tomorrow, I know we have the parade of boats at 10 to 11 a.m. right in there. Everybody's kind of gathering at the edge of Navy Pier to send them off. Well, hopefully those showers would be on the way out. Then as we go through the heart of the start, sunshine popping out. It is going to be so steamy over the water. Southwesterly wind component tomorrow, though, and those will start to pick up. And and maybe get a little gusty as we roll through the afternoon tomorrow as everyone gets started. And then, of course, for spectators, I just wanted to let you know that morning storm chances around in the morning. 92 for the high. It's going to feel like 100, though, if you are headed out there to watch the boats take off, especially in the middle part of the day. And then we have another round of rain coming our way overnight Saturday into Sunday. So, Brad, it's looking like 2 rounds of rain for us this weekend. A lot of it happening, though, through the overnight hours, leaving many dry hours during the day.
Yeah, if you're not a mariner, though, heck of a weekend to take a dip, too, in the 70s.
I know, right? 73, that's not bad.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Now let's check in with our stream team member, Jamaica Ponder, who was at the Chicago Yacht Club with one of the sailors racing this weekend. Jamaica.
Thank you, Brad. Hi, I am here with Sarah Wren's 18-time racer, and she is, in fact, racing this week. Sarah, thank you so much for taking time to talk with us.
Oh, thank you.
We're all so interested to know what it is like to be in one of these small boats for such a long amount of time competing. And so you have done this 18 times. You are the past chair of the race Mackinac. And so I would really like to hear just a first-hand experience from start to finish. What is it like when you're preparing for a race of this length?
There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of safety elements that you have to train. I've been lucky. I've sailed with this team for 15 years. Wow. So it's sort of, automatic, right? It's like when you're getting your golf clubs and going to the course and you're throwing your bag on, you know where to go and what to do.
Absolutely.
But there's always new boats joining us. The cruising division that we're going to watch today actually was started 5 to 6 years ago to engage more sailors in a more casual aspect. So it's fun for us today to watch over 33 boats now doing the cruising division.
And could you kind of explain the difference between the cruising division and the racing division, which is what you'll be competing in?
Sure. I think it's more about an approach to life, honestly.
Right.
I'm hoping to join the cruising division. My husband is on board in the cruising division. He's much smarter than I. But what it is just more relaxed and more casual boat versus a stripped out race boat.
Okay, when you say stripped out race boat, what do you mean? What can someone imagine?
I mean, the amenities that you would like. Are you going to glamp or are you going to camp, right? So I'm definitely a camper, like no bathroom, where these have like bathrooms and showers. White Hawk 100-foot boat has like a huge bathroom. So it's a very different.
Well, we are very excited to hear more about the race and your experience competing 18 times, but I'm going to throw it back to Brad now. Thank you.
Thanks.
Jamaica Ponder, thank you. Great insight there. So the cruisers, the glampers, are going to start here in about 6.5 minutes. 3 o'clock, 3:10, 3:20. Glampers being like glamorous camping, and the true racers, as our racer told us just a moment ago, the campers will begin tomorrow morning. Start at staggered 10-minute times. Let's throw it up now to the captain in the sky, Kris Habermehl from Chopper 2. Kris, take it away.
Ahoy, Brad. As you mentioned, the cruising division starts today, and what we're looking at is the starting line. Now, how can you put a starting line on something as slippery as water? Well, you mark it out with 2 boats, and in the lower right corner of the screen, that is the Anna Marie. The Anna Marie is on the west side of the starting line, and that is our pin boat for today. And on the east side of the line is the Carrier, the traditional signal boat there that carries people from the race committee, individuals out there. And as is traditional, the communication on the water is visual. So you check in with the pin boat, you actually parade past him, and you hail him, just enunciate over the side, and you receive your acknowledgement that you are actually have checked in by voice. So either a loud hailer, in other words, a loudspeaker, or just yelling off the boat. So you get lined up, and as you have mentioned now, we've got 33 boats today. So in the cruising division, there are going to be 3 sections of 11 boats each. Cruising section number 3 goes first, coming up here in minutes at 3 o'clock or 1500 hours. They are flying a violet-colored pennant on the backstay. Cruising section 2 has green pennant on the backstay. They go out at 1510 hours or 3:10 this afternoon, and then cruising section 1 follows up, and they are flying pink pennants on the backstay at 1520 hours. As Mary Kay mentioned, we've got a southerly wind component today. So actually the wind mix is off wind today. So that means the wind is coming from behind the boat, so the sails will be trimmed out for that. And in off-wind sailing, you're going to boom out at a right angle to the wind, your main sheet there, and you trim the jib, the smaller sail at the front, to catch whatever wind is left over. That's not blanked out by the mainsail there. So sometimes if your front sail, your jib sail there starts to luff or kind of flop around, you can go wing and wing. You can see the main on one side and the jib opposed. So we will watch as they get underway here, and they're going to be running with the with the wind at their back or off wind, what the sail set is going to be doing, each one. So each cruising division boat will be heading up lake, and the way the winds are kind of working things out this morning, or actually this afternoon, with the winds as they are and the lake breeze probably diminishing tonight once the daytime heating subsides. Expect more gradient-driven flow. In other words, we're starting to talk about pressures and winds en masse along the fetch of the lake there. So they'll probably be moving to mid-lake to the north and east of Milwaukee. And if this is going to be a more rum line, or actually maintaining the same heading type of course track here, they're probably going to be hitting the Michigan shoreline after mid-lake there. Sometime tomorrow, one would think, or later on tonight, depending if you've got a faster boat there. Again, we're watching for the start coming up here at 3 for the first section of the cruising division. And what they're going to be doing is, after they check in, there's a rectangular area down to the south of the starting line. And where the starting line is actually located, it's 1.5 nautical miles east of the Murrow Inner Harbor entrance, and half of a nautical mile southeast of the south end of the Chicago Harbor breakwater. So once the pennant goes up and the start is called, then those boats will be getting out on the course, and that will be the first cruising section that will be going off here at 1500 hours. Then 10 minutes after that, section number 2. 10 minutes after that will be section number 1, going out at about 3:20 this afternoon. Now a little bit about the Mac with the 100th. Yes, absolutely.
Kris,
if
you can hear me.
I've got a question.
I don't know if I'm mic'd
Absolutely,
up yet.
go ahead.
Okay, I am mic'd up. Kris, gosh, I admire your brain. Sometimes I wish I could have your brain. Other times I'm glad I have my brain, because I still have things to learn. It's available for rent. Can you give me some perspective? How far offshore are you? Is this, I mean, you've got the cliched bird's eye view. Can someone, be it at Navy Pier, can you visualize this? When people want to come and see it tomorrow? You need to bring your binoculars. Is it visible?
Yep, you've got the parade of sail tomorrow. You're going to have the boats going past on Navy Pier before everybody gets lined up to go out. And also this year we've got digital technology that will allow friends and family to actually follow every single boat, and every single boat with the name of the individual boat that's out there. So YB Tracker is what is being used out here. You can basically download a free app on your mobile device. That's each one of these boats is carrying a yellow brick transponder. That's what the YB is for. And then you can add to your races, when that comes up on your menu, Chicago Yacht Club Race to Mackinac. Now that is a free app that you can put in there. So some of the distance hacks here, up to Mackinac Island from Chicago is 289 nautical miles, 333 statute miles. Milwaukee, 225 to get to Mackinac. Manitowoc, 165. Grand Haven, a little bit over 200, and then Ludington is 150 nautical miles. So we will be following this start, which is coming up momentarily here as we get our first section underway. Brad, back to you.
Kris, thank you. 18 seconds away. Let's take chopper full, take a listen in as we hear the official announcement. Should be in about 10 seconds.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And there you go. With that, it is off. And what a gorgeous day on Lake Michigan for a boat race. These are the glampers, as our racer told us earlier. This is a cruising division. The racers will start tomorrow. And Stream team member Jamaica Ponder is with one of those racers. Jamaica, take it away.
We're about to hop on. Thank you, Brad. We're still here with Sarah Rentz, 18-time racer and former chair of the Race to Mackinac Committee. So I wanted to ask you, the boats that we just saw take off, are they is that everybody that we're going to be seeing? Is it split up? Because wouldn't it get a little bit crowded if we let all the boats leave at once?
It would be a beautiful scene, especially downwind with all the kites up, you
Right.
know, all the colorful sails. It'd be gorgeous to watch today.
Yeah.
And I love Kris's commentary, by the way. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
But no, we actually break it into 3 divisions because it's like golfing.
Okay.
Right? So I could be an expert and you could be not. And
Yes.
so if we could play together, we have a rating. So it's very similar with sailing. So you could look at a very small boat and a very big boat. They race together, but they have a rating that's a handicapped. So we will break it into 3 groups for cruising.
Understood.
Actually, tomorrow we have way many more.
Okay.
So, but yeah, there'll be 3 starts. So you just saw one, and it looked so exciting, right?
It really looks
The onboard
fantastic.
camera would be fantastic with
Yes.
the kites flying and everything. But if you're on board, the intensity is pretty exciting. But remember, it is a 300-mile race, so it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Exactly. And I know that you had some cool facts and info about the boats that are racing today. So I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about them. So first, do we have any former winners who are in the race right now?
That's a great question. I know that there are some returning winners. There is one boat that we're a big fan of. He's a former chair. His name's Matt Gallagher, and he just started sailing 10 years ago, and he's actually won his division this past year.
Woo!
So, you know, anyone can join this sport.
That's
it's,
wonderful.
especially in the cruising division. It's attainable, you know, and
Yes.
it's just bragging rights. I know you were asking me earlier about, okay, what do you win? Do you win money? Do
Yes.
you win glory? Do you win fame? No. I mean, you know.
Right. Well, I needed to know if there were any monetary prize, but honestly, the sound of that trophy that people get sounds like more than enough, and the bragging rights.
They're gorgeous. Everyone can come down to the Yacht Club and see these trophies. They've been around for over 100 years, and there's one for every division. So we'll have an awards where everyone from these divisions come down and get to hug those trophies with a little
wow.
champagne. So.
A little champagne, indeed. So this is a huge race for the boating world, and for people who aren't in touch with maritimers, I would love for you to try and explain what winning this race really means. I mean, the bragging rights are there, of course, but does it mean anything more for people?
I think there's 2 types of racing. There's, obviously Olympic, and then there's more casual.
Yes.
You know, like we're not pros out here.
Right.
So there's also distance racing, which this is. You sail for more than a day.
Right.
Versus some in-course racing that's a little smaller. So this is one of those bucket races, right? So we have maybe 5 or 6 bucket races around the world that, as a sailor, I want to do. And this is always one of them. So we have people that come from all around the world to come compete in Chicago. So we get to show off our city. It's really fun.
That is really fun. And we're going to send it back to the studio right now.
Actually, we're in the newsroom here, and Sarah, really appreciate your insight, and I'm also fascinated by your relationship with your husband, because he's a glamper, so he's a cruiser, and you're like more hardcore. You're going to be a racer. So take me into the racing mindset. Race record is around 19 hours. That's intense. Are you up the whole time? Are you with a group? Do you take shifts sleeping? Are you eating gorp? I mean, what's the mind? If you're in a marathon, you carb load the night before. Like, what do you do to prep for this?
Sure. A lot of Mount Gay rum. No, I'm just kidding. So interestingly enough, you mentioned 19 hours. I've never been on a boat that's gone up to Mack Island in 19 hours. Ours range, and we're pretty fast. We are between 30 to 45 hours. So you sleep in shifts, right? So you sleep maybe 4 hours, and then you're on for 15, and then you sleep for another 4, and so on and so forth. So you do a little carb loading, but it's something you look forward to. So if we're moms, I'm a mom, so I'm used to not sleeping ever, right? So I think I have an advantage above my husband, and that's probably why he's a glamper. But no, it's a great event, and I think that everyone kind of prepares with food every 4 hours, lots of carbohydrates the night before.
I have to ask, do you work out at all to get ready for all of the physical labor that you'll be doing, and for the amount of time, like that endurance training? Do you have to do anything of that nature?
That's a great question. So if you want to be a part of a team, one of the racing teams that starts tomorrow,
Yeah.
You really do commit to the whole season.
Okay.
So you are committing depending on the level, right? So we also have those levels of, I think, 11 divisions or so that we do. So it depends on that level. But yeah, some people are working out and doing CrossFit 3-4 times a week just to maintain that intensity.
Right.
But then you have, everyone's a little different. But yeah, if you want to perform at your best, and especially in a safety situation, if you have bad weather come through, you want to be in your best shape.
And have you experienced having to be in the middle of a race when a storm comes through or the weather gets choppy?
One of the best parts of this race is the night sailing, when you can see all the stars. You're up above, out away from all the cities.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. But yes, you can. Lake Michigan is unlike any place in the world, where the storms, as you all know, roll through quite often.
Right.
And it'll happen in a moment's notice, or it will happen in a forecast moment. So that's why we do a lot of preparation. We all have AIS devices in case someone falls off the boat, it's easy to find them.
Okay.
So there's a lot that we do to prepare. We do man overboard drills.
I was going to ask.
So we've had some issues in the past, and I think we've learned from them over 112 years. So we've learned from them, right? And we work with U.S. Sailing on safety measures and so on and so forth. So there's a lot that we do to prepare for the race. It's not just, hey, let's show up and go.
Right, you don't just hop on a boat.
No, they open registration, and it's an invitational, so you have to have a certain number of experienced years to participate.
Okay, and how many years do you have to be experienced?
It depends. It's more of a crew.
Okay.
Right?
So,
so
like the
your average crew, and
collective.
how many nights do you have overnights? And kind of what conditions have you sailed in?
And your crew on a racing vessel, does it vary in size for the cruising vessels?
Yes.
Okay.
It does. It does. Actually, that's a great point. So tomorrow you'll see some double-handed boats, and double-handed really has grown a lot. Maybe back to COVID, like people could only sail with 2 people.
Right.
But so you can sail from 2 to 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am so excited to hear more, but right now we're going to send it back to Brad. Thank you so much.
Jamaica and Sarah, thank you so much. By the way, that record, just sub 19 hours, 18 hours and 50 minutes. Let's take a chopper shot while we can. We'll go over these records. 18 hours and 50 minutes, 1998. Set by Steve Fawcett. That may sound familiar. Remember, he was the guy, uber rich guy, who flew nonstop solo around the world in a balloon. And then the monohull record, 23 hours and 30 minutes, set in 2002 by a fella by the name of Roy E. Disney. Disney rings a bell. Disney of Disneyland and Disney World. Now let's head up to the sky with by far the best shot, the best view of it all. Kris Habermehl, take me to the majesty of it. Lake Michigan look any more pretty than it does today?
Oh, 1 or 2 foot waves out here, and we've got the breeze coming in from the south-southwest, and it's just gorgeous out here. I can't tell you enough about how it looks out here. Everything that floats or flies, literally, and I'll talk about the flying thing in just a minute here, and that's why we're up so high, is that we're actually staying clear up about 2,500 feet. We're staying clear of a lot of aircraft that are going up to the EAA Air Venture up in Oshkosh, and everybody's got to come along the shoreline. Not only are they attracted by the city, but especially knowing that the Mac is going on right now. So everybody's got to come up, and they're taking photographs and whatnot. They're fixed-wing aircraft. There are even some helicopters that have been passing by out here, whether hired by the skippers or crews of some of these boats, or just out here sightseeing. There's a lot of stuff going on. So we've got the flying overhead and the flying down below. We're getting another section in place here to get going again. Again, we're in the midst of the 3 sections that are going out in the cruising division. Right now, we're a minute away from the second set going out here, the second division of the second section of the cruising division that's getting ready to cross the starting line here between the Anna Marie and the Carrier, the 2 boats that actually form up the west and east elements of the start line. Now, as we do that, let's talk a little bit about the Mac here. This is the 113th race, but it's the 124th anniversary. Now, how did that work? Well, it actually started with the Chicago Yacht Club sanctioning 3 races in June of 1898, and that was with 5 boats. There were 2 sloops and 3 schooners in that race. But before then, in 1896, we had the first race, which was a couple of guys and a couple of boats went over to Michigan City in 1896. and for bragging rights going across the lake. Then in 1897, the second race to Milwaukee, but that was so soggy and foggy, neither guy knew if they actually either completed or won. So basically, the Chicago Yacht Club, which has been around since 1875, probably serving Chicago here at Monroe Harbor and up at Belmont and their station there, took over, and it's been off to the races literally ever since, with only a little bit of a break around World War I. So that took a lot of skippers out of the running here. A lot of people were in the service elsewhere. So that's why we're at the 113th race, but the 124th anniversary. Now, a lot of ocean sailors are amazed by the tempest in the teapot of the lakes out here. They're like, one sailor that actually participated in the Mac, Ted Turner, back in the day, he was sailing, I believe, the American Eagle, and he came off the lakes sick, and he said, you know what, this is not a mill pond like I said it was, because he actually, I think that was back in 1970, he was out here on the lakes and got into one of the big blows that the Mac is sometimes famous for up at the north end of the lake. And they had a big blow in 1911, then back in the 1920s and the 1930s. So basically, this lake can get angry very quick. You can go from flat calm to a white squall where you're over on your side in just moments. And so that's why this race, this is a test of skill, strategy, seamanship, knowledge of the weather, knowledge of your vessel, knowledge of your crew. Safety, of course, is paramount here. So as you have heard, we have been having all the skippers out here have to have safety at sea training, conduct water safety drills with at least 50% of the crew here, have first aid and CPR training. They're wearing deck vests, tethers, personal flotation devices, sunset to sunrise. Those are mandatory. Plus everybody has the AIS and MOB signals, so that man overboard, the automatic information system, so that when you hit the water, it sends out a signal that vessels in the area as well as satellite can pick up to come and get you. Now, before everybody took to the water today, they've been studying something called their polars. And what a polar is, it's a diagram basically where you can diagram out how fast you can go at different wind speeds and different wind angles. It's velocity prediction programs computed by your hull shape and the weight of the boat, the rigging, and the sail setup to kind of give you the best chance of getting ahead of the pack. And that's going to be even more in play tomorrow than it is with cruising today. You get up to Mackinac Island and you get a brag flag that you made it. You're up there. Anybody who completes more than 25 or more, I should say, of the max, you get to be an island goat. In other words, an old goat. So you'll hear about talk about the old goats, and there's boats full of goats that are out here, and a lot of folks that are out here just for actual pure pleasure. Others, you've got, of course, the bragging rights, that racing element. And ever since the first two people saw each other and said, I'll race you to that tree, this has been happening. Since the first two cars came along and said, my car's faster than yours, my bicycle is faster than yours, my airplane is faster than yours, my boat is faster than yours. So that's how we land here at the Mac. And it's absolutely gorgeous out here today. The first islands they'll probably encounter, the Manitous, of course, and you got the Fox, Beaver islands up there, Skilly-Gilly, and you're making the turn off of Gray's Reef with your final approach into the Straits of Mackinac in 30, maybe 60 hours. Now, they're also using a program called Predict Wind out here today, and it's an application that gives you wind speed, direction, gusts, wave height, period, roll, vertical acceleration, temperature, dew point, your convective available potential energy, all of the things in the atmosphere and on the surface of the water that you're going to need to make a quality and maybe even a life-saving decision. So forewarned is forearmed. There's a lot of digital technology that's out here. You go on YB Tracker, your yellow brick tracker, and you can see where each one of these boats are. So if you have a favorite boat, maybe if you know a friend of yours is sailing on a particular crew or in a particular boat, you can just pull that up. It's a free app, go right to it, and you can see where on the lake they are. You can actually go online and see a little bit about Lake Michigan. Did you know this lake is 22,404 square miles of fun? 925 feet deep at its deepest point, and that's about 35 miles east of the Door Peninsula out there off of Wisconsin, off the Wisconsin shoreline. So basically, this was carved out from a glacier, so the south end is kind of deep, way out in the middle, and then it kind of rises to a little bit in the middle there. It gets a little bit more shallow, 300, 400, 500 feet, and then it goes back up to the 800 and even 900 foot level when you're getting up north there by Beaver Island and kind of turning onto the final approach into the straits there, where you start to lose some of your depth. So you can check in with the Chicago Yacht Club at cycracetomackinac.com. And remember, Mackinac is spelled with a C. And everybody's like, well, if it's spelled Mackinac, why is it Mackinac? Well, it comes from people, French traders coming in, and the pronunciation of the AC was actually AW, and it comes from the Ojibwe mission of Mackinac, which is Great Connecting Sound Fault Place. And I should know because I'm a member of the Bad River tribe of the Ojibwa up in Wisconsin. So that is part of the heritage and the history on the north end of the lakes there, and it's basically a great description of the Straits region. It's basically a big crack in the water with water flowing through it. And so that's where that description from Mackinac comes from. So we're talking about nautical miles, 333 statute miles. That's well and good for stuff that's running over the hard ground. But when you start talking about the water, then you switch over to nautical miles. We'll talk about that later. But basically, a nautical mile is a little bit more than a statute mile here. So we'll talk to you in just a little bit.
Kris Habermehl, Mensa champion, and clearly a mariner. We appreciate it. And also, scientists often believe that Michigan and Huron, although two different named lakes, are actually one single lake. Let's go back to Kris's shot there from Chopper 2. Of course, bringing up Ted Turner, one of the rich fellows who came here and probably thought Lake Michigan was something you could see across and confronted something very different. I've picked out my favorite names of the cruising division. Liberté is already taken off. 9 Lives coming up. There's also an albatross in there, which is either a double eagle or an extremely large bird. Double eagle if you're a golfer, extremely large bird if you're an ornithologist, or maybe you are both, and it's a double entendre. But my favorite is Cuddy's Ark. Cuddy's Ark, but I believe it's a play on Cuddy Sark. Cuddy Sark being that bad blended scotch that your grandpa used to drink. So I believe that has got to be my favorite, Cuddy's Ark. I'm going to be pulling for them all weekend. As Kris said, you can monitor them the entire time. Beautiful shot there. Are we going to head back to Jamaica and our racer, Sarah? Why don't we do that? If Jamaica is ready, we'll do a little zoom out. Our friend of the stream, Chris McKnight, running the camera there. A little digital breakup. Of course, it's not that easy. He's got a giant backpack that acts basically as like a giant cell phone getting us live in a beautiful view. Jamaica, take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Brad. Well, what you just saw was somebody scaling a very tall pole attached to their boat. And so I want to ask you, Sarah, what are people doing? And is that safe?
Yes, it is safe, unless you're in very wavy seas. So that's called the mast. Okay. And so there is running rigging attached to the mast. And it's very key to have the rig tightened and set the way you think the wind is going to work. So obviously they've been listening to the wind forecast, right, Kris? And they're seeing what's going to happen. So they're rolling their dice. They're setting their rig and they're getting ready to go.
Because they're not able to adjust it once they're out on the water.
That's
so
correct.
They have to choose something now and just go with it.
Set it and forget it.
Set it and forget it. I like that a lot. All right. Well, Sarah, I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about what different things in the world of sailing, but specifically for the Race to Mackinac, y'all are doing to diversify, to bring in new sailors, people who aren't or who have traditionally been underrepresented in the sport. And I know you guys have a couple of really cool initiatives going on, so I'd like to hear about them.
That's a great question. And I will say there's always been diversity. It's just that we really haven't put a spotlight on it. There's a team, Jackson Park Yacht Club. Karen Harris has been fantastic, and she sails on mise en place and with a wonderful team, and they've done it for years and years and years. But in the past few years, she took an initiative with Endeavor Chicago. And what we did is we provided free weeks of sailing to really kids from the CPS, Chicago Public School System, and selected them specifically from different areas and brought them all together for a free week of STEM, so sailing and STEM. So that was through the Park District and through donations, right, for the Endeavor program.
Yeah.
But Karen Harris has taken that with with Jackson Park Yacht Club and turned that into a full-blown experience. So she has probably hit over 5,000 kids in the city and exposed them to sailing. That has extended, obviously caught the attention of the U.S., and that has extended into this whole movement in Vermont, in California, in Florida, all across the country, and getting people that don't always have that opportunity to step on board a boat because it can be expensive, but get them on board a boat to see what that feels like and to learn, because there's so much industry and livelihood that you can do from sailing, not just enjoyment. So it's been really fun to watch these children grow, and now some of them are in college, so it's pretty cool to watch them grow.
That is amazing, and I have seen it across the country. I think we just did a story on CBS Mornings about a sailing club that is a very similar initiative to the one that you're talking about. So it's awesome to just see that becoming more of a point in the sailing community as a whole across the country.
Yes, there's another initiative too that we started in the Olympics. There's a mixed division, which is on a team you have to have a man and a woman, and they compete. So that just started a few years ago. And so what we've done for us weekend warriors, right?
Yes.
We have created a mixed plus division. And I work with Sailing World, and with our regatta series, we have a trophy for every fleet that has a mixed plus team. So we're trying to motivate people, sometimes hardware and prizes, and help people get the awareness out. So we have a huge spike in women's sailing. So we're excited to see what happens in year 2, and there's already a lot of talk and hype about it. So
to qualify as a mixed boat, you have to have at least 50% women, or
that's correct. That's correct. And there are programs that you don't have to be members of any clubs, like they call them Women on the Water programs. There's one up at Belmont, and there's one down at Jackson Park. So there's lots of different programs, but it's hard to know about them but if you love the water and you don't get seasick, it's important. You just got to kind of dig in and find your way. So
well, it's good to know that these things are out here. You might see me at one of those clubs.
I hope so. Absolutely. But I think I'm going to bring you and Kris, because Kris seems to be like one of the experts here.
Yeah, we might win a mixed trophy this year.
Yeah, he was doing some forecasting too, so maybe he could help us.
For sure. Well, I also wanted to talk to you about being on the committee. Like you said, you were previous chair, and you told me that this is an all year round event that you guys are planning for. So how does that work?
Well, it's a lot of hours, a lot of volunteers. So we have over 100 volunteers that come together we pretty much take 1 month off, but it's 11 months of the year. We do organization, we do the awards, we do the relations with the city and with Mackinac Island. So you take your team here and you transport them all up to the island. So it's really fun, but it is kind of a rite of passage on the volunteer side as well as the sailor side.
And I'm sorry, how many volunteers?
100. Over 100 now.
Over 100 people.
Yeah.
Wow. And I have more questions for you about what it's like when we get to Mackinac Island, what's waiting for the sailors, but I'm going to throw it back to Brad for now, but we'll come back to you.
Thank you.
I want to know, first of all, what is waiting at Mackinac? And can you drink out of the trophy?
Yes, sir, you can. We fill it with champagne all the way to the top. But it's heavy. It's really heavy.
Yeah. So you need a couple of
So you work out for the trophy, not for the sailing.
That's what the CrossFit is for.
Exactly.
Okay.
We should practice, though. We should practice.
Absolutely.
Top it off with a little Veuve Clicquot. Jamaica Ponder, our thanks. A great question, too, about diversity and inclusion. And the strides the sport is making, it's not necessarily a black and white thing. It is a money thing. There's a money barrier. But it's fascinating to hear the strides you're making to include others and then tie in the STEM angle, because it really is about science, technology, math. How big of a push is that, and how critical is that to boating's future, boat racing's future?
It's amazing. It's so important to always renew and bring in new energy and passion into the sport. I have a daughter that's a freshman at Jones, and there are over 12 CPS schools that have sailing teams. So
Wow.
you don't even have to have your own boat. And so all these kids that are between 14 and 18 are out at Columbia and Chicago every day sailing.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. CPS schools of teams.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're some of the best
Jamaica?
in the country, too.
Jamaica,
Really?
make,
Yeah, they're
all right.
absolutely.
Make a note of that, Jamaica. We're getting you on a boat real soon. And also, Sarah, don't think you're taking Habermehl anywhere, because we actually have a boat on order. We're going to get a multi-hull yacht, and we'll get them out of Chopper 2, and we're going to get them into Boat 2. But before we get Boat 2, let's head back to Chopper 2. Captain, give us a lay of the land, or the sea, shall we say.
Well, we've got all three sections of the cruising division away now, and everybody is headed up the lake now. And we were talking a little while ago, you heard about getting more people into the sport and into the water. And you can go to cycracetomackinac.com, and you can learn more about the history of the Chicago Yacht Club. You can learn about the history of the Mac. You can even learn how to get started sailing and the services that are provided through the Chicago Yacht Club. Services, membership as well. So that's a really good place to go. You can also click on there and get links to the YB tracker. You can also see how to download that software or that app, into your mobile device. So that's one-stop shopping right there. And I can see our sails are full here. We've got our wind off the back of the boats here. In other words, off wind. Basically, how sail technology works is it's just like an airplane wing. So when you're sailing into the wind, everyone's like, well, it would kind of stand to reason that this would be the best thing, is that you got the wind at your back, and you've got your fair winds here, and the sails are full, and you're kind of just booming up the lake. But you can also get quite the breeze when the wind is coming at you, when you're going into the wind, with the wind as the case may be, as opposed to off wind like you have today. And basically what that sail does is you want to minimize the drag on the sail and face it as you can into the wind and kind of let it play out to where it's actually shaped like an airplane wing, just stood on end. So basically you're getting high pressure on one side of the sail, low pressure on the other side of the sail, and you're actually being pulled along by wind that's actually coming at you. So that's the way to do that. But today, with it being off wind, the wind is off the beam, it's behind the boat, sail's trimmed out, so the boom's at a right angle to the wind, your main sheet there, and then you trim the jib up front, you catch whatever isn't blanked out by the main sail. And you're seeing a lot of those very colorful foresails out here that are filled up, and everybody is just moving right out here. So this is a great day, a great race, and what a great start to an amazing weekend here with the 113th edition of the Mac. Back to you, Brad.
It absolutely is. It is beautiful. It is majestic. And we got Lollapalooza next weekend. And I tell you, I'll take the boats over teenagers in jorts any day of the week. Not judging anybody, but this is a special thing. If you want to catch a look, get out to Navy Pier tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 1. That's going to be the parade of boats. Then the real racing begins, 11 to 2. They'll be staggered as they start. Can't start them all at once in 10-minute intervals. Now let's head back to a shot from Chopper 2. Our friend Kris Habermehl. Let's take a look at the lake. Let's take a look at those boats. We want to thank our racing friend, Sarah Renz, Stream team member, Jamaica Ponder. Of course, our thanks to Kris Habermehl. Great insight today.
Thanks, Brad.
And of course, the word Michigan, as Mr. Habermehl already paid homage to, is Ojibwa. Comes from Michigami, or Michigami, meaning great water. Indeed it is, and that will be a great test this weekend. We thank you for joining us on this special presentation on the stream. Have a great weekend. Now back to the stream.